I'm Kaya, but I normally go by Kai. I grew up in Plymouth, Mass. I'm going to be a junior in the fall, and I'm very far along in my English major, but I just started working on my secondary education last year. I plan on teaching literature and creative writing in high school, and one day aiming to be a professor. Um, my grandparents, parents, siblings, and I were all born in America. It hasn't been since the great grandparents that someone hasn't been born in America. For example, my great grandfather was born in China. That makes me fourth generation Chinese. Although my nationality may not reflect it, my ethnicity does. Being Chinese has always been an important part of our family, and I plan more this year to be educated on that part of my family. Both sides of my family are also Irish, French, Swedish, Norwegian, Portuguese, Italian, and English. Little by little, I'd love to learn more about my family since we haven't really been taught those cultures and traditions and stories. Resources weren't really offered for those throughout school, elementary school, middle school, high school. It wasn't until I got to college where there were more diverse courses like this one. But I'm glad there are, so I can begin learning about where I've come from and where my family has come from. School did teach me a lot about myself. School taught me not so much about math, because I still can't do it. But it taught me beyond the curriculum. Some teachers taught me that I was capable of learning more than I thought I was. I may be headed to be an English teacher, but it's the science teachers that inspired me to teach. I have severe ADHD, which means I don't learn the same way as most people do. These teachers saw that and taught me how I learn instead of how they teach. I began to retain things and I lit up. I became more passionate about the materials. These teachers are the perfect examples as what I want to be as an educator. Now onto reading. Reading has been the most important part of my life since I was like a little girl. Maybe since I was like 4 or 5, maybe even younger, maybe when I was in the womb. I remember every night going to bed, my mom would either let me pick out a book or she'd pick out a book. But she wouldn't just read it. She would do the voices, like all the character voices. She would hold it open, like she'd show me the pictures after she finished reading. And she'd be like, wow. And like she'd make it for a kid. Like, to a kid, reading is stupid. Reading is pointless because what do I get out of reading? It's not fun. But my mom made me love reading from such a young age. She made it magical. She made it come to life. And I think at my core, that is what made me become an English major. Is that from like the womb I've loved reading. From the womb I've loved learning and exploring and creating. So reading to me is my core, and it's where I came from, really. It's my whole life. And that's why I'm going to be an English major. That's why I'm education major, to teach English. But surprisingly enough, I'm dyslexic, and I did not begin reading until I was 7. Once I did begin reading, it became such an epic escape into another world where I was safe and untouchable. I could go on adventures and witness crimes and jump from waterfalls. It really was another world. Some of my favorite childhood books was If You Give a Mouse a Cookie or The Hungry Caterpillar. They're both silly and goofy and wholesome, and that's kind of my core personality, is silly, goofy, and wholesome. So those 2 books, my mom would read them. You'd see the brightest smile on my face because I was so happy and everything was good and pure and safe. And what I hope to get out of this course is a better understanding of the literary world and the world around me. Like, I didn't know the Caribbean had so many islands until our Oxford short stories questions. So there is so much that I have to learn that I get the privilege to learn because of this course. I've normally only learned about young adult literature, British literature, and like the classics, as people would call them. I've never even learned about children's literature until this course. So I'm really excited to expand my knowledge on literature and maybe expand my passions. We'll see what happens, and I am super excited to see what happens. Thank you for listening.